Chapter 4.2, Transversals and Parallel Lines. We're going to start with a review of parallel lines. Recall that parallel lines lie in the same plane and never intersect. In this figure right here, line L is parallel to line M, and notice how it's written. This is the way you write that. Alright, they also wrote it right here. The symbol in the middle, those two lines, that means parallel. So line L parallel to line M. That's how you write it. And also notice that what it says here, the arrows on the lines also indicate that they are parallel. So these arrows right here mean that this arrow means that this line right here is parallel to this line right here. You're going to see that throughout this chapter and throughout the whole year. And I'll remind you every time it comes up. But those arrows mean parallel. Líneas paralelas. Líneas rectas en el mismo plano que no se cruzan. La forma que se escribe en esta situación, por ejemplo, la línea R es paralela a la línea S. Se escribe de esta forma. ¿Ok? Este símbolo significa paralelo. Así que línea R es paralelo a línea S. Así se escribe. Y las dos flechas, esta flecha y esta flecha, están indicando que esta línea es paralela a esta línea. Eso lo van a ver hoy y durante el año completo. Cada vez que salga yo le voy a recordar que esa flecha quieren decir paralelo. Okay, a transversal. A transversal is... Before I read the definition, let's look at this picture and I'll show you what the transversal is. And then the definition will make more sense. So in this picture, we have two lines, line P and line Q. And they're both being intersected by this line right here in red that I'm putting, okay? This line is the transversal, okay? The line that's intersecting both of these lines. This line is the transversal, okay? Line T is the transversal. Now let's look at the definition up here. A transversal is a line that intersects two coplanar lines at two different points. Remember, coplanar means that they're both in the same plane. Okay, so a transversal is a line that intersects two coplanar lines at two different points. In the figure, line T is a transversal. The table summarizes the names of angle pairs formed by a transversal. That table they're talking about is on the next slide. Give me a second and we'll get to it in a moment. Un transversal es una línea que corta dos líneas coplanares en dos puntos diferentes. ¿Ok? Así que aquí en el diagrama tenemos, bueno, primero en este diagrama tenemos dos líneas, línea P y línea Q. El transversal sería la línea T, porque está intersectando las dos líneas en dos puntos diferentes. En este diagrama, el transversal sería esta línea aquí que estoy poniendo en rojo. Alright, in this diagram, the red line would be the transversal because it's intersecting these two lines at two different points. Alright, it's nothing difficult, but you got to know what that word means. Okay, now here, there's a lot of information. It's actually very simple though. Don't let all the information scare you. Let's look at it. Let's look at everything one at a time. And on the bottom is the translations in Spanish. So in English, all you got to do is look at the top part. I'm going to use this diagram. This diagram, I'm going to explain the relationship that exists between all these different angles. And it's actually very simple. In fact, let me draw side by side to it. Let me draw next to it a diagram where I'm going to make up some random angle measures. And I think it'll help you understand what I'm going to say a lot easier. All right, so let me draw a picture here. All right, so let's say that's line T, and then this will be line P, and line Q, All right. Now look, I'm gonna make up using simple numbers. I'm gonna put some angle measures here. I'll explain it later or as I go along. Okay. Let's keep the numbers simple. So let me put 80, 100. It'll help me explain everything to you. All right. All right. Okay, so let's start with the first definition here. Corresponding angles. Corresponding angles lie on the same side of the transversal and on the same sides of the intersected lines. And for an example, they give you angle 1 and 5. Okay, let me explain it maybe in my own words and maybe an easier way to understand. Corresponding angles are basically, excuse me, they're in the same spot. Like angle 1 and angle 5. Notice that they're both in the same spot. Like if I look at this as 4 angles and this as 4 other angles, angle 1 and angle 5 are located in the same spot. They're both on the top right angle. Just like angle 4 and angle 8 are both on the bottom. Let me try that again. They're both, angle 1 and angle 5 are both on the top left angle, okay? I accidentally said right. Angle 1 and angle 5 are both on the top left angle. Angle 4 and angle 8 are both on the bottom left. Angle 2 and angle 6 are both on the top right. Angle 3 and angle 7 are both on the bottom right. Alright, so that's what I mean by corresponding angles. I don't want to circle it because as I go through the other ones, I'm going to make a mess here if I start circling everything. And if I erase it, it'll erase this part as well. So angle 1 is a corresponding angle with angle 5. Angle 4 is a corresponding angle with angle 8. Angle 2 is a corresponding angle with angle 6. And angle 3 is a corresponding angle with angle 7. Okay, now if you notice over here with these values that I made up, okay, corresponding angles always have the same measure. Alright, so like angle 1 and angle 5 are corresponding angles. Notice that angle 1 and angle 5 in this example where I put these degrees are the same degrees. They're both 100 degrees. Just like angle 4 and angle 8 are also the same degrees, 80 and 80. Just like angle 2 and angle 6 are the same. And angle 3 and angle 7 are the same. So that's what it says over here. The corresponding angles theorem. If two parallel lines are cut by a transversal, then the corresponding angles have the same measure. Alright? As we see examples, you'll see that it's very simple. It's not difficult, okay? Let me just translate that real quick in Spanish and then we'll move on to the next one. En español, la primera definición está aquí en español. Ángulos correspondientes de líneas cortadas por una transversal. Dadas dos líneas cortadas por una transversal, el par de ángulos ubicados en el mismo lado de la transversal y en los mismos lados de las otras dos líneas. ¿Ok? La manera que yo lo expliqué, a lo mejor un poco más fácil, es ángulos correspondientes están básicamente en el mismo lugar. Por ejemplo, si en este ejemplo, en este diagrama, si lo miramos como la parte de arriba y la parte de abajo, en la parte de arriba, ángulo 1 está a la mano arriba izquierda. Y en la parte de abajo, ángulo 5 está arriba a la izquierda. Esos dos son ángulos correspondientes porque están en el mismo lugar, básicamente. En el lugar que corresponde. Ángulo 4 y ángulos 8 son ángulos correspondientes. Ángulo 2 y ángulo 6 son ángulos correspondientes, porque los dos están arriba a la derecha. Ángulo 3 y ángulo 7 son ángulos correspondientes, porque los dos están abajo a la derecha. ¿Ok? Y ángulos correspondientes siempre miden igual, Aquí hice un ejemplo donde usando números fácil estoy enseñando cómo la relación que existe entre los ángulos. Así que, por ejemplo, ángulo 1 y ángulo 5 dije que tienen que tener la misma medida. En el ejemplo que hice aquí, el ángulo 1 con el ángulo 5, si usamos los mismos lugares, tienen la misma medida, los dos miden 100. Igual que ángulo 4 y el 8, los dos miden 80. Ángulo 2 y el 6, los dos miden 80, etc. Okay, now let's look at the next one. Same side interior angles. The word tells you what it means. They're on the same side and on the interior. Okay, same side interior angles lie on the same side of the transversal and between the intersected lines. Okay, the example they give you is angle 3 and 6. Okay, notice angle 3 and 6, they're on the same side of the transversal. The transversal is this line right here, okay? So they're on the same side, they're on to the right of it. They're both on the same side and they're on the inside, like they're inside these two lines. Same side interior angles would be angle 3 with angle 6 as well as angle 4 and angle 5. By the way, let me write down here the additional examples. So angle 3 and angle 6 and angle 4 and angle 5. Alright. Okay, so the relationship, if you look, you could either look at my example and we'll also read this. But the relationship that exists with same side interior angles is that they are supplementary. We could just cut to the last part. The last part says the most important part that you need to know. Same side interior angles are supplementary. By the way, you don't have to sit at home and try to memorize these definitions. As you see them and as I explain it several times, you'll get the hang of how to remember which is which. It actually takes, once they give you just one of these angles, you can figure out all of them extremely fast. I'll show you how in a moment, all right? So don't worry about memorizing any of this. You'll learn it just by seeing it a couple times today. All right, but same side interior angles are supplementary. Same side interior angles are supplementary. Supplementary, in case you forgot, means that they got to add up to 180. They add up to 180. Okay, let me say that in Spanish. La segunda definición, ángulos internos del mismo lado. Dadas dos líneas cortadas por una transversal, el par de ángulos ubicados en el mismo lado de la transversal y entre las dos líneas. Ok, básicamente ángulos que están en el mismo lado del transversal. Por ejemplo, ángulos 3 y el 6. El 3 y el 6 están en el mismo lado del transversal, está al lado derecho. Y están al interior de estas dos líneas, ¿ok? Están al interior. Y la relación que existe entre estos ángulos es que tiene que ser suplementario. Suplementario quiere decir que la suma te tiene que dar 180. Así que, por ejemplo, aquí, estos dos ángulos que están ángulos internos del mismo lado, la suma te da 180, igual que estos dos. Y estaba diciendo que esto no es necesario memorizar. En lo que ustedes ven los ejemplos, yo les voy a enseñar qué fácil es en encontrar la respuesta. A la vez que uno sabe un ángulo, ya puede encontrar lo demás bien rápido. No es difícil. ¿Ok? Y simplemente de mirarlo, de mirar algunos ejemplos, van a entender cómo se hace. No es nada difícil. Alright, the third one. Alternate interior angles. Alternate interior angles. Again, the word, if you can understand what each of these words mean, you can figure out what they are. Okay? Alternate interior angles are non-adjacent. That means they're not next to each other. Non-adjacent means not next to each other. Are non-adjacent angles that lie on opposite sides of the transversal between the intersected lines. So, for example, angles 3 and 5. 3 and 5. They're alternating the side. One is on the right side, the other one is on the left side of the transversal. So, alternate, and they're on the interior. And the relationship that exists, if you look at my example over here, with alternate interior angles is that they're equal to each other. They have the same measure. It says it over here as well. Alternate interior angles have the same measure. Again, I'll show you in a second how quickly you can figure them all out. Okay, so ángulos alternos internos. Dadas dos líneas cortadas por una transversal, par de ángulos no adyacentes ubicados en los lados opuestos de la transversal y entre las otras dos líneas. It sounds so much more complicated in Spanish, at least to me. Ok, así que básicamente creo que con esta parte pueden entender lo que quiere decir. Están en lados alternos del transversal, por ejemplo el ángulo 3 y el 5. Están en lados alternos. Este está a la derecha y este a la izquierda. Y están en el lado interno de estas dos líneas, línea P y Q, están al interno. Y la relación que existe es que esos ángulos tienen que tener la misma medida. Así que si miran aquí a mi diagrama, este ángulo mide igual que este mide igual que este. Alright, last one. Alternate exterior angles. They lie on opposite sides of the transversal and outside the intersected lines. So for example, angle 1 and 7. Again, alternate exterior means outside. Alternate exterior angles. So angles 1 with 7 are alternate. They're on alternate sides of the transversal and they're on the exterior. Just like angle 2 and angle 8 are alternate exterior angles. Let me write that over here. And just while I'm at it, let me write the other ones because I forgot to do that. Alternate interior angles 3 and 5 and 4 and 6. And up here, corresponding angles would be angle 1 and 5, angle 4. That's supposed to be a 4. Esto es un 4. 4 and angle 8. Angle, I'm running out of space, angle 2 and 6. And angle 3 and 7. Okay, so just to repeat that in Spanish real quick. Ángulos alternos externos. Dadas dos líneas cortadas por una transversal, par de ángulos no adyacentes ubicados en los lados opuestos de la transversal y fuera de las otras dos líneas. Y la relación que existe entre esos ángulos es que tienen la misma medida. Alternate exterior angles, if you look at my diagram, they have to have the same measure. All right, so let's go to the next slide. And first of all, let's name them, and then I'll show you how to figure out all the angles real quick. All right, so here we just they're telling us that line M is parallel to line N. That's the first thing you got to realize. So in the diagram, the transversal is this one, line T. En el diagrama, te está diciendo aquí que la línea M es paralela a la línea N. Así que el transversal es esta línea en rojo, la línea T. Alright, so we gotta match. Tenemos que colocar la letra con la definición correcta. Angles 4 and 6. They're on the same side and on the interior. So those are same side interior angles, okay? Ángulo 4 y 6 están en el mismo lado y al interior. Alright, next one, angle 5 and 8. 5 and 8. Those are vertical angles. Remember, vertical angles is like this one is vertical angles are opposite each other, okay? So this one is vertical angles with this one, just like this one is vertical angles with this one, okay? So letter B is this one, vertical angles. Okay. Recuerden que ángulos verticales son ángulos opuestos. Así que este ángulo es opuesto a este, así que son ángulos verticales igual que este con este. Así que aquí ángulo 5 es un ángulo vertical con ángulo 8. Alright, letter C, angles 2 and 6. Alright, 2 and 6, those are corresponding angles because they're both in the same spot. This one's on, like if we look at it as this is one diagram and this is another one, angle 2 is on the bottom left, just like angle 6 is on the bottom left in this one. Alright, so that's going to be corresponding angles. Okay, si lo miramos como si esto fuera un diagrama y este es el otro, el ángulo 2 está a la mano izquierda abajo, igual que en esta sección, ángulo 6 está también a la izquierda y abajo. Así que están básicamente en los lados, en el lugar que corresponde. Alright, last one. Angles 4 and 5. are alternate interior angles. They're on alternate sides of the transversal, and they're on the interior of lines M and N. Okay, so alternate interior angles. Están en lados alternos del transversal y al interior de estas dos líneas. El ángulo 4 con el ángulo 5. Last one, complete the definition. A blank is a line that intersects two coplanar lines at two different points. That should be easy. It's obviously a transversal. That's on your homework. And that's the answer. So remember that. Okay? Esta pregunta está en la tarea y esta es la respuesta. Okay? Completar la definición. Un que es una línea que intersecta dos líneas coplanares en dos puntos diferentes. Un transversal. Alright, moving on. Okay, now look. Okay, you know what? Before I do this, I just remembered. Let me add a slide real quick here to show you guys something. Okay, so look. This is how I would always teach it when I had kids in class. Back in the old days before the Rona. Kids back in my days before the coronavirus. Alright, here we go. Alright, so let me make up a little diagram here. Let me show you how you could figure out the how you could figure them out real fast, all of them, just with knowing one. Once you know one angle measure, you could figure them all out real fast. I mean, obviously they can complicate the problem, but if we're just dealing with numbers, it's super easy. Let me show you how. Okay, le voy a enseñar cómo, a la vez que se sabe cuánto mide un ángulo, pueden encontrar lo demás bien rápido. Alright, so I'm going to put a random number. Alright, let's say this is 50 degrees. Okay, if this one's 50 degrees, this angle is vertical angles with this one right here. And we've already learned that vertical angles have the same measure. So if this is 50, this has to be 50. Okay? Estos dos ángulos son verticales. Y ya sabemos que ángulos verticales tienen que tener la misma medida. Así que si este es 50, esta también tiene que ser 50. Alright, next step. Right here, what do you call this? That's a straight line. And I already told you that we've already learned that a straight line is always 180 degrees. Okay? So if a straight line is always 180 degrees, that means this angle has to be whatever you add to 50 to get 180. I'll say it again. If a straight line is always 180 degrees, that means that this angle has to be whatever I add to 50 degrees so that together they equal 180 degrees. That means this has to be 130 degrees. Okay, esto es una línea recta y una línea recta siempre tiene que medir 180 grados. Así que si esta es 50, este ángulo tiene que ser, la medida de este ángulo tiene que ser cuánto tú le sumas a 50 para que en total te dé 180. Entonces esta tiene que medir 130 porque 130 más 50 te da 180. Si no saben qué es 130, simplemente hacen 180 menos 50 para saber cuánto sería. Alright, if you don't realize that, all you gotta do is 180 minus 50, and that tells you what the other one has to be, 130. Okay, once I know this is 130, hey, these two are, guess what? Vertical angles. And we already know that vertical angles have to measure the same amount. So if this is 130, this is also 130. Okay, estos son ángulos verticales, así que tienen que medir igual. Okay, next step, guess what? Corresponding angles always equal the same amount. So if this is 130, guess what? This is also 130. If this is 50, this one's also 50. I'll say it now in Spanish while I continue the pattern. Okay, ángulos correspondientes siempre tienen la misma medida. Así que si este es 50, este también es 50. Si esta es 130, esta también es 130. Y ya terminé. That's how quick you could do it. Let me do one more example really fast. Okay, voy a hacer otro ejemplo rápido. Let's switch it up and put it sideways because that's the other way that you're going to get it. All right, so let's say the parallel lines. How did I do it? All right, let's say the parallel lines are going this way now. Whatever, pretend they're like perfectly parallel. Okay, so those are my parallel lines, and this will be the transversal. Okay, so again, let me put a random number. let's keep the number easy. Let's say, I don't know, 60 degrees. Let's say this is 60 degrees. All right, so if this is 60 degrees, that means this one's also 60 degrees. Okay? And look, this is a straight line, or you could look at it like this is a straight line. All right, however you want to look at it, it's going to be the same thing. Okay, a straight line always measures 180 degrees. All right, so if this is a straight line, then this has to be whatever I add to 60 to get 180. Si esto es una línea recta, esto tiene que medir la cantidad que le sumo a 60 para coger 180, que en este caso sería 120. And if this is 120, these are vertical angles, so this is also 120. By the way, I forgot to mention one more thing. When I add these all up, you know what it's always going to give me? 360, because a circle is 360. All right, so when I add up all these angles, it always equals 360. Cuando sumo todos estos ángulos, siempre me tiene que dar 360, porque un círculo siempre mide 360 grados. If you add them up, you'll see that I'm right. Okay, now if this is 120, that means this one's 120. Basically, I could pick up all these angles and just write them right here. Okay, puedo poner este patrón que existe, escribirlo exactamente igual aquí, porque así siempre va a ser. And that's it, I'm done. If this one's 60, this one's 60. If this is 120, this is 120. If this is 60, this is 60. If this is 120, this is 120. And again, if you add them all up, it equals 360. Okay, si lo sumo todo, me tiene que dar 360. All right, moving on to the next slide. All right, here they're just doing what I just did, but they're just changing up the numbers each time. Okay, esto es igualito que lo que acabé de hacer, pero en cada pregunta te están cambiando la medida de los ángulos. So, for example, number 3. Suppose the measure of angle 4, let me write right here. Measure of angle 4 is 82 degrees. All right, so if this is 82, find the measure of angle 5. Encuentra la medida de ángulo 5. All right, angles 4 and 5 got to be supplementary. All right, so that means that they're asking me what's angle 5. You don't have to write it this way, but I'm going to write it this way. We know angle 4 is 82 degrees. We don't know what angle 5 is. But we do know that they're supplementary. Okay, again, it's not necessary to write all this out. I'm just writing it out so that you see the process. All right, so no, yo sé que ángulo 4 es 82 grados, pero no se sabe cuánto mide ángulo 5, así que puse un variable X. Y sé que que esos dos ángulos son suplementarios, así que la suma te tiene que dar 180. Por eso hice la ecuación de esa forma. All right, now just subtract. I know 180 minus 80 is 100. And if I take away 2 more, I'll get 98. So the answer is 98. All right, let's look at question number 4. Suppose the measure of angle 3 is 105. All right, 103. The measure of angle 3 is 105. Find the measure of angle 6. All right, this is like the one we just did. All right, find the measure of angle 6. I don't know what angle 6 is, but I know that these two are supplementary, son suplementario. So I could write it like this. All right, now to find out x, just subtract 105 from 180, and that's going to be x equals 75 degrees. So the answer is 75. All right, let's look at number 5. It says, suppose the measure of angle 3 is 122. Find the measure of angle 5. Okay, really easy. Alternate interior angles are always equal. They measure the same amount. So the answer is 122. Esos ángulos que están en lados alternos y en el interno, no lo dije bien, pero esos ángulos siempre tienen la misma medida. All right, next one. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. All right. So number 6, suppose the measure of angle 4 is 76 degrees. Angle 4 is 76 degrees. Find the measure of angle 6. All right, this is the same one. This is the same one as that I just did. All right. Alternate interior angles have the same measure. Okay, esto es igualito que el número 5. Así que ángulo 4 tiene que medir igual que ángulo 6. All right, let's look at question number 7. Suppose the measure of angle 5 is 109 degrees. Find the measure of angle 1. All right, those are corresponding angles, and corresponding angles always have the same measure. Okay, by the way, let me go over a real quick trick that you could always do. And I'll do it with easy numbers, all right? Easy numbers. Let's say that you're doing this and you can't remember what the relationships are between the angles. Look at an easy trick that anybody could do, okay? I'm going to pick an easy number that I've already used before. Let's pick an easy number and put it right here. Let's say like 80 degrees. Okay? If I make up an example and just put a random number there, but an easy number. Okay, with that, I can figure out the rest and use that example to answer all the questions. Like to remind me, okay, which angles are equal and which angles are supplementary. Because really, those are the only two possibilities. Either the angles are going to be equal or they're going to be supplementary. Okay, before I fill this out, let me just say that in Spanish real quick. Vamos a decir que están haciendo problemas como estos y no se recuerdan de la relación que existe entre los ángulos. Pueden hacer un ejemplo con números cualquiera, escogen números fácil para ver la relación que existe entre los ángulos. La relación solamente tienen dos opciones. O los ángulos van a medir igual o los ángulos van a ser suplementarios. Esas son las únicas dos opciones. ¿Ok? Así que a la vez, aquí estoy poniendo 80 para tener un número fácil y con eso voy a encontrar el resto de los ángulos que ya le enseñé cómo. Y con eso lo pueden usar para hacer todas las respuestas, para recordarse cuál ángulos son igual y cuál ángulos son suplementarios. Alright, so if this is 80, this is 80. And if this is a straight line and this is 80, that means this one has to be 100. And this one has to be 100. And now just copy this relationship down here. Copien esta relación y pongan los mismos números aquí abajo. Alright, now I can see... Oh, they're telling me angle 5 and I gotta find angle 1. Angle 5 is this one, angle 1 is this one. I can just look down here. Okay, this angle and this angle, they gotta be the same. You get it? Okay, aquí me están dando la medida de ángulo 5 y tengo que encontrar la medida de ángulo 1. Okay, ángulo 5 y ángulo 1, fíjense dónde quedan. Ahora miro aquí. Okay, este ángulo y esta tienen que tener la misma medida. Así que ya sé que si esta es 109, esta también es 109. Alright, now this one is going to be like what I just said, probably. Alright, suppose the measure of angle 6 is 74 degrees. Okay, if angle 6 is 74 degrees, find the measure of angle 2. Those are corresponding angles, so they got to be the same measure. Angle 6 with angle 2. Tienen que medir igual. Alright, so with my little made-up example there, I just know that they got to measure the same amount that it's telling me here. Angle 6 and angle 2 have to be the same measure. Alright? So there are the answers. Okay, listen, let's do the same thing here. I'm going to make up an example here and let's do it that way as well. Voy a hacer la misma cosa aquí. And by the way, here they got like two lines horizontal and 2 lines vertical, but it means the same thing. Just know that, well, let's look at it because this one might get slightly tricky. No, not really actually. Let me make up an example here. Sorry, I was just thinking to myself. Wait, let me draw that better. X, Y, and M and N. Okay? So again, I'm going to just I'm going to use the same easy numbers I've been using, 80 and 100, to fill out this diagram. And we could just refer to this diagram to answer these questions to know, are the angles going to be equal or supplementary? Okay? Voy a usar los mismos número fácil, 80 y 100, para hacer este diagrama y para que eso nos ayude para hacer esta respuesta, para saber cuál ángulo miden igual y cuál ángulo son suplementarios. Okay, so since this is the smaller angle, I'll put the 80 here. 80, 100. 80, 100. Okay, now look, if I go this way, 100, this one has to be 100. And this one has to be 80. Basically, just copy the same relationship. 80, 100. Now, if I would have gone this way, it would have been the same thing. And this one's 100. Because these are corresponding angles, and this one's 80. If this one's 80, this one's 80, and if this is 100, this is 100. And if I go this way, it's the same exact thing. 100, whoops, messed up. Sorry, tried to go too fast. 80, 80. That's 100. That's a 1, right? Okay, now look, I could just like, when I look at the question, like let's do the first one. It says suppose the measure of angle 5 is 69, right? Here's the angle 5. And this one's 69 degrees. Okay, find the measure of angle 10. Angle 10 is this one, and it's okay, so let's look. They're alternate interior angles, so I already know that they gotta be equal, but let's just look here, just in case you weren't sure. 5 and 10, look where they're located and find them over here. That's this one with this one, okay? Si se fijan donde quedan ángulos 5 y 10, es aquí y aquí. Y la medida de esos ángulos tiene que ser igual. Alright, so those angles got to measure the same amount, so that means the answer is 69 degrees. Look, the next question seems to always follow the same pattern as this one. So let me jump to number 11 to do a different one, okay? Vamos a mirar el 11. It says, suppose the measure of angle 12 is 118. Okay, so forget about this now. The measure of angle 12 is 118. Find the measure of angle 7. All right, that's just like the one I just did. I was hoping for a different one. But okay, 12 and 7, if I look over here, that's this one and this one. Those are also equal. Those are equal. Esos son igual, so it's also 118. All right, let's look at the next one. Okay, let's look at number 12. So we already did that. Sorry for the mess. All right, look at number 12. Suppose the measure of angle 4 is 72 degrees. Angle 4 is 72 degrees. Find the measure of angle 11. Tenemos que encontrar la medida de ángulo 11, okay? So a couple ways to think about this. One way you can think about it, well, first of all, you can look over here. You can look at this diagram and see that angle 4 is this one, the 80 degrees, and angle 11 is this one, which is 100 degrees. So they're supplementary. Okay, la relación es suplementario. But here's another way you could have thought about it, right? Angle 4 has to equal angle 7 because they're vertical. Angle 4 and angle 7 have to be equal. And angle 7 and angle 11 have to be supplementary. Like, just look at them a second. If you look at them, look at how this angle fits perfectly on the other side of angle 11. So they got to be supplementary. That means when you add them, they got to be 180. So that means that angle 11 has to be 180 minus 72, which would be that. I'll say it in Spanish in 1 second, okay? Hopefully that made sense. I'll say it one more time. Angle 4 and angle 7 are vertical angles, so they got to be equal to each other. So I could forget about angle 4 and just look at angle 7. Angle 7 and angle 11 got to be supplementary. If you look at them, they just look like they fit like a jigsaw puzzle. Angle 7, you could put it where angle 15 is, and they make a straight line. So if angle 7 is 72 degrees, because it's the same as angle 4, then that means angle 11 has to be 180 minus 72 degrees. Okay, let me say it in Spanish. Otra manera que pueden pensar de esto es ángulo 4. Ángulo 4 mide 72 grados. Y es un ángulo opuesto o un ángulo vertical con ángulo 7. Que quiere decir que tienen que tener la misma medida. Ok, así que ángulo 7 mide igual que ángulo 4, que es 72 grados. Ahora, si ángulo 7 es 72 grados, si se fijan que ángulo 11 y ángulo 7, es obvio que son suplementarios. Porque yo puedo poner ángulo 7 aquí, donde está ángulo 15, y van a formar una línea recta. Ok, así que tienen que ser suplementarios. Así que si ángulo 7 mide 72 grados, ángulo 11 tiene que ser 180 menos 72 grados, que te da 108, porque la suma de 108 y 72 es 180. Alright, I'm going to move on because all those are pretty much the same, and I've done enough examples. And we got to move on to problems that have algebra in them. Okay, like this one. I meant to move this up and I didn't, but that's fine. Okay, listen, this looks all complicated and stuff. It's not. Don't let these numbers and letters push you around. All right, you're in charge. You're the boss. You got to be the boss, not these numbers, not these letters. You tell them what's up. They don't tell you what's up. All right, be the boss. Be a boss. All right, so look, in the diagram, roads A and B are parallel. So A and B are parallel lines. Las calles A y B son paralelos. Explain how to find the measure of angle VTU. Listen, I don't care about the explanation. I just want to go over how do you find the measure of angle VTU. Tenemos que encontrar la medida de ángulo VTU. First of all, let's see, where the heck is it? VTU, that's this one right here. VTU is this angle right here. Este ángulo es VTU. Alright, so I'll show you how by drawing an easier picture up here. You don't need to draw this, but I'm drawing it so that you could recognize what I'm trying to show you. Okay? Estoy dibujando el mismo diagrama aquí arriba, pero más simple para que se den cuenta de lo que quiero que miren. Alright, so it says right here, this angle is x plus 40 degrees. Okay, so look. Oh, I forgot the parentheses. If this angle is x plus 40 degrees, this angle is vertical angles with this one right here. Estos son ángulos verticales, so they got to measure the same amount. And if this angle is x plus 40 degrees, this is a corresponding angle with this one right here. This one and this one are corresponding angles. Este ángulo y este ángulo son ángulos correspondientes. So that means if this is x plus 40 degrees, so is this one. In other words, these two got to be equal. Their measure is equal. Okay? Como estos dos ángulos son ángulos correspondientes, la medida tiene que ser igual. So if this is x plus 40 degrees, and it says here this is 2x minus 22 degrees, they got to be equal to each other. Tienen que ser uno igual a el otro. So that's how I would set up my equation. Now, all I got to do is use my algebra skills to solve for the variable, solve for x. Okay, voy a usar álgebra para resolver para el variable, resolver para x. Alright, so I'm going to move the x to the right. And I'm going to move this 22 to the left by doing plus 22. I like to do it all in one line like that, alright? So hopefully that makes sense. So I bring down the equal sign. 2x minus x is x. This cancels out. And this cancels out. 40 plus 22 is 62. Okay? So there I have what x equals. X equals 62. However, that was not the question. The question was not what does x equal. The question is what is the measure of angle VTU. La pregunta no era qué es el valor de x. La pregunta es qué es la medida de ángulo VTU. Alright, so now I gotta substitute. Tienen que substituir. You could substitute either here or here. You're gonna get the same answer because both of these angles measure the same amount. So that you don't get confused, I'm gonna substitute it right here. Alright, so if I substitute it right there. Alright, I'm gonna do 2 times 62. Remember, you always gotta follow the order of operations. So you multiply before you subtract. Siempre se sigue la orden de operaciones, así que se multiplica antes de restar. 2 times 62, mental math. Don't bust out the calculator. That's for weak people. Alright, no usen calculadora. 2 times 2 is 4. Hey, and 2 times 6 is 12. What do you know? That was actually easy. Now, 124 minus 22. 124 minus 22. 4 minus 2 is 2. 2 minus 2 is 0. And 1 minus nothing is 1. So, the measure of angle VTU is 102 degrees. If I would have substituted x equals 62 right here, you get the same answer. Si hubiera sustituido el valor de x aquí, también me da la misma respuesta porque ya le enseñé que este ángulo mide igual que este y este mide igual que este. Okay? If I put 62 here, 62 plus 40 is 102. 62 más 40 también me da 102. Alright, let's look at another example. Alright, don't worry about all this. Let's just find the numbers. Alright? Alright, so in the diagram, same thing. Roads A and B are parallel. Las calles A y B son paralelos. Explain how to find the measure of angle WUV. Ahora tenemos que encontrar la medida de ángulo WUV. Okay, so, alright, where is it? Is it the same one? Yeah, el mismo. It's the same one, but I think they slightly changed the problem. Yeah, they did. Okay, aquí cambiaron un poco el problema. Alright, so let's talk about this one, right? The only other piece of information that they're giving us is this angle right here, okay? La única información que tenemos para ayudarnos es este ángulo aquí, okay? And again, you could always do this thing if you need some help. Siempre pueden hacer esto si necesitan ayuda. So if I make this one 80, this is 80, 100, 100, 80, 100, 80, 100. And you could see like this angle with this angle, este ángulo con este, they gotta be supplementary. Supplementary. Another way you could have figured it out is like this. This angle is corresponding angles with this one. This one and this one are corresponding angles. I'll say it again. This angle is corresponding angle with this one. They're in the same spot. Like if I look at this as one problem and this is another one, they're both on the bottom left. Este ángulo es un ángulo correspondiente con este ángulo, porque los dos están abajo a la izquierda. También lo pueden mirar de esa forma. If you see it that way, this angle with this one are supplementary angles because they're a linear pair. Together they form a straight line. I know I'm drawing a lot there and it's making a bit of a mess, but this angle and this angle are supplementary because together they form a straight line. Este ángulo con este ángulo son suplementarios. Es un par lineal o lineal. Creo que lo estoy diciendo mal. Hoy me di cuenta que se pronuncia lineal, creo. ¿Ok? Pero forman una línea recta, es lo que quiero que se den cuenta. Este ángulo con este ángulo. Así que la suma es 180 porque son, si forman una línea recta, son suplementarios. Alright, so having said all that, alright, this one and this one are supplementary. So look how I'm going to set up my equation. Supplementary angles, when you add them, they have to equal 180. So that's what I'm going to write. Cuando uno suma ángulos suplementarios, te tiene que dar 180. Así que eso es lo que escribí. Este ángulo más este ángulo. This angle plus this angle. They got to equal 180. All right, now let's combine like terms. Combinar términos iguales. 9x plus 22x. Okay, that's going to give you 31x plus 25 equals 180. Now, I got to get x by itself. So first, like I always say, the number that's with the variable, you move last. First, I got to get rid of the plus 25 by doing the opposite of plus 25, which is minus 25. El número que está con el variable se mueve al final, siempre. Primero tengo que quitar el 25, haciendo lo opuesto de sumar 25, que sería restar 25. Alright? So here, I cannot take away 5 from 0, so I make the 0 a 10 by borrowing 1 from the 8. 10 minus 5 is 5, 7 minus 2 is 5, and 1 minus nothing is 1. And so now I got 31x. Let me write over here because I'm running out of space. 31x equals 155. Now listen, to help you not use a calculator, usually, not always, but usually, in situations like this, chances are whatever number goes here is a number that you could multiply times 31 easily to get 155. Like for example, it's either going to be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever. So if you have at least a little bit of multiplication skills, you should see that if you put a 5 here, mental math, if you put a 5 here, 5 times 1 is 5, and 5 times 3 is 15. So that means that when I divide this, the answer has to be 5. Ok, se deben dar cuenta, si saben por lo menos un poco la tabla de multiplicación, que primero deben tratar en la mente número fácil, por ejemplo, 2, 3, 4, 5, para ver por cuánto se multiplica 31 para coger 155. Y se deben dar cuenta que si yo pongo un 5 aquí, 5 por 1 es 5 y 5 por 3 me da 15. Así que 155 dividido por 31 sería 5, porque 5 por 1 es 5 y 5 por 3 es 15. En total, 5 por 31, 155. Alright, oh, and by the way, just like I always say, make sure you check the question. The question was not what does x equal? The question is, find the measure of angle WUV. So now I got to substitute. Okay, la pregunta no fue qué es el valor de x. La pregunta es qué es la medida de ángulo WUV. So when I substitute, tengo que substituir. I got to do 22 times 5 plus 25. Mental math. No calculators. 5 times 2. 5 times 2 is 10. So I put a 0 and I carry the 1. 5 times 2 is 10 plus this 1 that I carried is 11. 110 plus 25. You should be able to do that mentally, but I'll just write it out. 5 plus 0 is 5. 2 plus 1 is 3. And 1 plus nothing is 1. So there's my answer, 135. Okay? La respuesta es 135. Alright, moving on. Okay, guys, almost done. Just a couple more things I gotta go over. You're gonna have these questions on your homework regarding movie theater seats. And let's look at how you do them. Okay, so in this diagram of movie theater seats, it's saying that line S is parallel to line F. Okay, line S and F are parallel. Okay, so here it says, if the measure of angle 1 is 60 degrees, what is X? Here's angle 1. If the measure of angle 1 is 60 degrees, what is X? Okay, estos problemas están en la tarea. Se tratan de los asientos en un teatro de cine. Los asientos en un cine. Okay, dice que la línea S y F son paralelos. Así que si la medida de ángulo 1 es 60, ¿cuánto mide? ¿Qué valor tiene X? ¿Qué valor tiene X? Alright, so the first thing you gotta realize is I have this situation here. Alright, so if this is 60 degrees, that means this angle right here is also 60 degrees. And this is 3x. Basically, what I'm trying to get you to see is that they're supplementary. These two angles are supplementary because they form a straight line. Because this one is a corresponding angle with this one. Este ángulo y este ángulo son ángulos correspondientes. Y estos dos juntos forman una línea recta, así que tienen que ser suplementarios. So the way I would set up my equation is 60 plus 3x equals 180. You could switch that around if you want, but that's how I wrote it. Okay, so now, first of all, the number that's with the variable, you move last. First, you got to get rid of the 60. El número que está con el variable se mueve al final. Primero mueve el 60. Así que restar por 60 a los dos lados. Alright, so that's going to give you 120. Let me write it over here. 3x equals 120. So x is obviously going to be 40. Because 120 divided by 3, x equals 40. So that's the answer for number 16. Let's look at number 17. The measure of angle 1 is 68 degrees. What is y? Okay, so just to draw this picture again so you can see what I wanted to show you. Okay, so let me draw that a little better. Alright, so the measure of angle 1, which is right here, is 68 degrees. And they want to know what is the measure. See, the way I drew it now, you could see that these are alternate interior angles. Alternate interior angles. So they gotta be equal to each other. Este ángulo mide igual que este. They gotta be equal. And by the way, you should get in, like you could kind of tell just by looking at them. Remember I said that the angles gotta be either equal to each other or supplementary. So look, this one is gotta be supplementary with this one. And this one are equal to each other. And this one are equal to each other. Remember the little trick that you could do if you're not sure what the relationship is. But anyways, for the sake of time, these two angles are equal to each other. Como tiene que ser uno igual al otro, 68 igual a 5y menos 7. Okay, so now just solve it using algebra. So first I move the 7 by adding 7 to both sides. Now divide by 5. 5 goes into 7 one time. Remainder 2. The remainder of 2 you put in front of this 5 for 25, and 5 goes into 25 5 times. So y equals 15. Alright. Okay, guys, and last thing is there's like 2 questions where you got to do proofs in the homework. You could use this video to guide you because I think the questions might be exactly the same. Remember that for proofs, the first thing you always put is the given. Okay, so number 1, in this one they want you to, given that P is parallel to Q, prove that the measure of angle 3 is equal to the measure of angle 5. Okay, so the first thing I put is the given information. Siempre lo primero que se pone es lo que te están, la información que te están dando y diciendo que esto es un hecho. Okay, que P es paralelo a Q. Okay, so given is the first thing you write. Number 2, angles 3 and angle 6 are supplementary. By the way, we're choosing from these options right here. Okay, aquí están las opciones que podemos usar para la respuesta. Angle 3 and 6. If you look up here, angle 3 and 6 are same side interior angles. Same side interior angles, so that's why they put same side interior angle postulate. El 3 y el 6 están en el mismo lado y en el interior. Por eso es que pusieron esta razón. Okay, number 3, the measures of angle 3 plus the measures of angle 6 equals 180. That's the definition of supplementary angles. Okay, look, let me let you in on a little secret. For number 4, I actually just recorded myself doing this and I messed up. So I erased it and I'm doing it again with the answer. Because let me show you what confused me. Number 4, look where they put given. Okay, that's a little unusual. I've always read that you always put the given information at the beginning. So in my opinion, this is kind of not how it's supposed to be done, but I'm just showing you that's how they did it. So chances are it's like that on your homework. And by the way, it's not even given to you here. I guess they mean given to you in the sense of the diagram. Okay, so look at that because that's a little tricky. I don't necessarily agree with it, but whatever. It is what it is. And like I said, I think the question on the homework is exactly the same as this one. So feel free to look at this video and use it to answer the question on the homework. Okay. So 5 and 6 are a linear pair, and we know that just from looking at the diagram. That's what it's trying to say. That's why they wrote given. Okay, let me just say that in Spanish real quick. El número 4, yo acabo de hacer esto, lo estaba grabando y lo borré porque hice un error. Porque la manera que escribieron esto para mí es un poco extraño. Yo siempre he leído que se debe poner la información que te están dando al principio, pero en esta situación lo pusieron given para la razón para el número 4. Y lo están haciendo de esa forma porque están diciendo que para el número 4 están cogiendo esa información del diagrama que te dieron. Que si lo miran, el ángulo 5 y el 6 forman una línea. ¿Ok? Y como lo cogieron del diagrama que le dieron, es given. Alright, so since they're getting that from the diagram, angles 5 and 6 form a linear pair. That's why they're using the reason as given. Okay, so angles 5 and 6 are supplementary because of the linear pair theorem. The measure of angle 5 plus the measure of angle 6 equals 180. That's the definition of supplementary angles. They always got to equal 180 when you add them. Okay, now the last one, I want to point something out here. Quiero que se fijen algo aquí. Because I can see this coming up on tests and stuff. Okay, first of all, notice that this part is right here. Let me write that better. Hold on. This part right here is what's here. And it says that equals 180. Okay, fíjense que lo que circulé. Okay, now look at this. Over here, it has this one also equals to 180. So this one equals to 180 and this one equals to 180. So what they're doing is just putting that one there, or substituting it is what I'm trying to say. They're substituting it right there. If this equals 180 and this equals 180, that means this one equals this one. That's why it's the substitution property of equality. Están sustituyendo. Si la suma de estos dos te da 180 y la suma de estos dos te da 180 también, eso quiere decir que este es igual a este, porque se está sustituyendo estos dos ángulos aquí. Y por eso la razón es la propiedad de sustitución. Okay, now the last one, notice this. Let me just change pen colors one last time. From this equation on number 7, if I subtract the measure, let Let me use a different color because you can barely see that one. Let's use black. If I subtract the measure of angle 6 from both sides, I would get this answer. Again, if I subtract from both sides the measure of angle 6, I get this final answer, which is what we had to prove. What you had to prove. That's why it's the subtraction property of equality. Si le resto a los dos lados de esta ecuación la medida de ángulo 6, me queda lo que tenía que comprobar, que la medida de ángulo 3 es igual a la medida de ángulo 5. Por eso es la propiedad de restar. Okay, and there's one more proof, and there's the this one's obviously easier for the corresponding angles theorem. Again, you could use this while you're doing the homework. Okay, esto también está en la tarea. Pueden usar este ejemplo en lo que hacen la tarea. Given that line P is parallel to line Q, la línea P es paralelo a la línea Q. So that's the first thing you put. That's your first statement, and given. Eso es lo primero que se pone, y given. Okay, so we got to prove that the measure of angle 1 equals the measure of angle 5. So if P is equal to Q, okay, the first thing they put is that the measure of angle 3 is equal to the measure of angle 5. That's using the alternate interior angles theorem. The homework will be multiple choice, guys. You don't have to... I know this is like a little difficult if you've never done it before, but with multiple choice, you should be able to figure it out. Okay, then the measure of angle 1 equals the measure of angle 3. That's vertical angles theorem. And then last... Alright, notice this pattern. If the measure of angle 3 equals the measure of angle 5, and the measure of angle 1 equals the measure of angle 3, that means that these two got to equal each other by the substitution property. Okay, and that concludes today's lesson.